He wasn't lazy, just stuck in the loop of not now, in the rhythm of I'll do it when I feel ready, in the silence of maybe tomorrow. He had ideas, so many ideas, dreams, goals, plans, all real, all alive, but only in his head. His notebooks were full, his heart quietly restless, and still, nothing moved. Because for years, he kept telling himself that he just needed one more push, one more spark, one more day. But the truth? Days kept passing, and he kept saying, later. Until one day, he didn't. This is the story of that day, of the moment the delay ended, of the first real step forward, not because he felt ready, but because he finally understood that waiting wasn't helping him become who he was meant to be. He woke up late. Again. Not because he wanted to, but because he always did. The alarm had rung at 7. He hit snooze. Then again. Then it was 9:12. His brain whispered the same sentence it whispered every morning. It's fine. You'll start fresh tomorrow. But he knew that voice. He had listened to it for years. His name was Liam, 28, smart, creative, well-spoken when he needed to be, full of potential, that's what people said. But inside he felt like a man stuck in soft concrete, not drowning, not collapsing, just unable to move forward. He had a list of things he wanted to do. A long one: start writing his novel, get back in shape, apply for that job he kept bookmarking, call his grandfather before it was too late, learn to manage his time, meditate, cook, live. He wanted all of it, but he didn't start. Or he did, and then stopped after a day, or two, or the moment discomfort showed up. Liam wasn't idle. He watched productivity videos. He followed inspiring people online. He filled journals with weekly plans and habit trackers. He had color-coded systems. He even tried gamifying his own life. But the truth? He was exhausted from planning a life he never lived. He kept telling himself, later, I just need to feel ready. Once I've cleaned the apartment, after this weekend, when I get more sleep, when I figure out the perfect system. But nothing ever happened after. Later was his most used word, and slowly later became a hiding place, a mask, a shield against discomfort, a lie that sounded responsible. I'm not quitting. I'm just waiting for the right time. He had said it for so long, he almost believed it. But something changed. Not a dramatic moment. No accident. No rock bottom. Just a quiet Tuesday afternoon. He opened his laptop to write, then closed it, then opened YouTube, then scrolled, and saw a video title, You're Not Tired, You're Afraid. He paused, clicked, listened, and heard one sentence that stopped him cold. If you died tomorrow, your dreams would still be scheduled. For later. Something in him cracked, not in pain, in recognition. He looked around his room, books unread, guitar untouched, a dusty whiteboard with the words Week 1 still written on it. From last year, and he felt it, the grief of everything he hadn't started, the ache of all the versions of himself that never existed because he kept postponing them. He didn't cry. He didn't panic. He just whispered, out loud, for the first time, I don't want to die with this word in my mouth. Later, that was the day it changed. The day he didn't make a plan, didn't set goals, didn't try to become a machine. He just did one small thing immediately. He wrote one page. Messy, raw, honest. And then he went for a walk. Not for fitness, just to move. To feel time passing, not in avoidance but in motion. And when he came back, he knew. He was done saying later. Not because he had fixed everything, but because he had finally started something. And that was more than he had done in months. He used to think procrastination meant laziness, lack of willpower, a flaw in his personality. But the truth was quieter and deeper. Procrastination wasn't the problem. It was the symptom, something invisible, of something much more familiar than he wanted to admit. A loop. Every time he said later, he wasn't choosing rest. He was choosing relief. The temporary comfort of avoiding the discomfort of starting. It wasn't about being unmotivated. It was about being afraid. Afraid of what? Failure. Judgment. Feeling overwhelmed. Getting it wrong. Looking foolish. Starting. And realizing he wasn't good enough. So his brain protected him. Not with force, but with delay. Let's do it tomorrow. You're too tired today. It's not the right moment. We'll make a better plan soon. And it worked. Because later always felt like safety. Until he looked around and saw that his entire life was made of later. There were unfinished projects, unread books, unsent messages, unspoken truths, unlived experiences. and most of them weren't waiting. They were fading. Each later didn't just postpone something, it slowly erased it. He didn't see it at first, because the loop was disguised as logic, as being responsible, as being careful. But underneath it all was fear, the fear of beginning, the fear of not finishing, the fear of what it would mean if he tried, and it still wasn't enough. But on that day something shifted, not because the fear disappeared, but because he finally saw the pattern. The loop didn't need to be fought, it just needed to be interrupted. Not with a full reinvention, just with one quiet action. Now, not later. He didn't plan a new strategy, didn't write a new list, didn't download another app. He just stood up, closed the tabs, sat with himself, not to think but to breathe. And then, he did something he hadn't done in months. He opened a blank document. No title, no structure, no pressure, just a page. He didn't wait to feel ready. He didn't wait for inspiration. He just typed one sentence. Not perfect, not clever, just real. I don't want to wait for my life to begin. And then another, and another. The words weren't amazing, but they were honest. And honesty was the opposite of later. After 15 minutes he stopped, not because he was done, but because he had started. He had broken the loop. And in that small crack, something else could grow. Not discipline, not motivation. Trust. Trust in himself. That when he said now, he meant it. That when he sat down to create, it didn't have to change the world. It just had to change his rhythm. Then he did something else. He put on his shoes, walked outside, and felt the air against his face. Not because it was a goal, but because it was movement. Because it was life happening now, not scheduled for someday. He didn't become a different person. He didn't transform overnight, but he changed something important. The direction. And sometimes, a shift in direction is more powerful than a change in speed. He knew himself. He knew the loop wouldn't vanish in one day. It would come back, whisper again. Just not today. Let's start Monday. You're not ready. So he made a quiet decision. He wouldn't fight the loop. He'd disarm it, not with discipline, but with a ritual, small, daily, non-negotiable. Every morning before opening his phone, before doing anything else, he sat down and asked himself 3 simple questions. What am I avoiding today? Not to judge, but to see. What's one small thing I can do right now? Not big, just one step. One breath of movement. Can I allow myself to begin without needing to be perfect? Because permission is stronger than pressure. He wrote the answers down, sometimes short, sometimes hesitant, sometimes defiant, but always real. This tiny act of presence became his anchor. It brought him back from the edge of later. Not with a roar, but with a whisper. We're not doing everything. We're just doing something. Now. He didn't always feel confident. Some days he still delayed. Some mornings the voice of not yet felt louder than ever. He had a practice now, a way to return, a way to begin again, and that changed everything. Because in a world that keeps shouting do more, he had learned how to say gently, just do one small thing, now. And that was enough. Now it's your turn, not to copy his story, but to recognize your own. You've probably said it too. Later, you've said it when you were scared, when you were tired, when you were unsure, when you didn't know where to begin. That's okay, but ask yourself, gently, honestly, without judgment, what have I been postponing that actually matters to me? What part of me is quietly fading while I wait for the perfect moment? You don't need to answer perfectly. You just need to pause long enough to feel the answer rise. Maybe it's a project. Maybe it's a conversation. Maybe it's your health. Maybe it's your art. Maybe it's you. Whatever it is, it's not waiting. It's drifting. And it's time to bring it back. Not by overhauling your life, but by choosing a direction. By doing one small thing now, instead of telling yourself later. Because the version of you you're waiting to become needs you to begin before you feel ready. This isn't a story of perfection. It's a story of pause, of presence, of one young man who stopped waiting for the right moment to become who he already was inside. He didn't change everything overnight. He didn't rewrite his past. He just shifted direction, quietly, intentionally, completely. Liam didn't become fearless. He still hesitates sometimes, still doubts, still hears the echo of later. Now, he knows what it sounds like, and he knows what to say back. I'm not waiting anymore. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to begin. Today. Maybe this isn't just his story. Maybe it's yours too. Maybe this is the sentence you needed to hear. You don't have to earn your right to start. You just have to stop handing your life to a version of you that never shows up. And if you do, you'll discover something powerful. The life you thought you'd live someday was quietly waiting for the moment you stopped saying later